Today we're going to learn how to crisp and perfectly sear a piece of fish. Today I'm using a fish that does not have a skin on it, but this method goes perfectly and makes for crispy skin each time you cook your fish. So today I'm actually using a prepackaged frozen fillet, and this is a tilapia, so it's very thin. My tilapia comes pre-portioned frozen, so I'm going to thaw my fillet of tilapia under submerged water for about 15 to 20 minutes. You don't have to keep the water running, you just submerge it, it will thaw. As soon as this fillet is done thawing, I want to cook it immediately. I don't want to put it back in my fridge and cook it later. I want to cook it immediately. So I have a fillet that I've thawed, and I took a paper towel and I pat dry this fillet to get all of the water out to make sure that I have no more water remaining to make my fat, when it meets the heat on my fish, a really good sear. So I have this tilapia fillet. I have salted and peppered both sides, but you can also use a marinade if you'd like. Since this is such a small fish, I would use a marinade for maybe 10-15 minutes. I would not go anymore. The acid in the marinade of lemon or lime juice, oil, salt, pepper might change the texture of the fish, which we don't want before cooking. So I would maybe do 5 to 10 minutes for a marinade. Since I have salted and peppered, seasoned, I'm going to use the piece of the fish that has the skin on it or used to have the skin on it. So since this is already de-skinned, I can tell that the skin came off of this side. So I'm going to use in a hot skillet, must be a cast iron skillet or a stainless steel skillet, since we are getting so hot. On medium heat, I've heated about 2 tablespoons of oil. So I'm just gonna make sure I have a good, even, and I'm going to place my fillet skin side down on the skillet. I'm going to take my spatula or my fish spatula, and I'm gonna press down on the skillet, on the fillet, to make sure every side of the fillet has contact with the hot pan and the heat. You'll feel that great sizzle that we love creating, that burn, that sear. And I'm gonna let this cook, and I'm on medium heat right now. I can turn it down to lower since this is a small piece of fish. But I'm gonna let this cook until about 2/3 or 3/4 of my fish is cooked. So we're cooking from the bottom up through the heat, and we can tell that our fish is cooking by seeing our fish turn white or opaque. So I want to make sure that at least 2/3, maybe 3/4 of my fillet is cooked from the bottom up, that it is white. So I'm going to wait for that to happen, and when that happens, then I can consider flipping. So right now, this is a small piece, so it will go pretty fast. I am using a frozen fish because that's what I have right now, but you can always use a fresh fish. It's recommended that we consume about 2 servings of fish a week, and consuming 2 servings of fresh fish a week may not seem very doable, but using a frozen fish or a canned fish makes that much more attainable. So we're about halfway there. We'll keep waiting. We don't want to mess up our perfectly sear. What's happening is right now that side is getting that perfect sear and crispness that we like, and we don't want to mess it up right now. You could also, in your community, if you live anywhere near the coast, you can see if there is what's called a community supported fishery, which is almost like a CSA box. So if you buy into a farm CSA box, you get the farmer's share for the week of what crops come in, taking on some of the burden of the farmer, and getting a bunch of crops that you weren't used to. And it's the same with fish. So fisheries also offer these boxes, or the fish of the week or catch of the day, where you can go and pick up for a discounted price, or buy in before the fisheries go out, different types of fish. And that exposes you to different types of fish that you might not be used to. You can get a chance to experiment with your cooking methods, and overall just be exposed to more diverse types of fish. The type of fish that works perfectly for this is a thin fish with a skin. You would use something with a thin skin like a salmon, tilapia, flounder. This wouldn't be good for a swordfish or sturgeon, things with thick skin. We don't want to eat the skin on that, so we're not going to take time to sear it. So I'm about halfway, maybe 2/3 of the way done. I'm going to take my spatula and I'm going to see if the fish moves. So the fish will actually loosen itself when it is ready to be flipped. So I can easily get under most of my fish. There is one portion of my fish that I can't really get under, so I'm going to give it a few more seconds to cook. I'm going to turn this heat all the way down because I am pretty hot right here. This one portion that's still sticking may need a few more seconds to cook, but the rest, since I can't easily get under it, it is ready. If we want, we could use our spatula and dig under there and let it help it release itself, but we'll wait. It easily released itself, and I'm about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way done. I'm gonna flip. And at this point, I can turn my heat off. I can move my pan away from my heat source. Since this is such a small piece of fish, the residual heat from the pan will cook the fish. So I'll let that sear and cook for maybe a minute or two more. Or if you want, you can leave it on the heat, but the residual heat will cook it. If we're using a thicker piece of fish like a salmon, we can turn it off and leave it on the heat source, or you can always keep it on low. But you'll see that we have a perfectly seared fish. They're brown. We can do the same pushing down on the fillet to make sure every portion of the fish is getting heat and fat. And when it releases itself, again, it is done. So you'll see we have a perfectly pan-seared piece of fish.